Start your day the right way on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Nigeria Info.
A very good morning to you. Welcome. It's the Front Pages 99.3 Nigeria Info. Bright and early. We are here to run you through the stories across the dailies today, and we're doing this with you. You can join us live right now. I was really happy to hear someone send me a message. He's not in Nigeria, saying we're following you guys online. Yes. I said, yeah, correct. So you can follow us anywhere you are. Take us with you. You can listen on our website to all of our programs. That's nigeriainfo.fm. You can also watch us live. Right now, we are live on Facebook and YouTube, Nigeria Info 99.3. If you're just joining and I've not apologized, please bear with my voice. My voice seems to have gone on excursion, but to be back shortly. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
I'm Sheriff Quadry. It's time to take a look at the big stories from the front pages of the papers this morning. We'll be taking your thoughts as you go along on WhatsApp as well. The WhatsApp line is 0809 597 5805. That is 0809 597 5805. If you want to join us via our socials on Facebook and YouTube, just search for Nigeria Info 99.3. You'll be able to join our live stream as we go along on the show this morning. Rotimi Sankara is here in the studio. Rotimi, a very lovely morning to you.
I didn't hear you.
See the person saying we didn't hear you. Your voice is a whisper.
Oh my goodness.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone.
You
Okay, let me try.
You need to go and rest your voice.
Yes, I do. I'm heading to the hospital right after. Okay, let's start with The Guardian. Presidency cooker clash over Buhari's undeclared assets. Bishop accuses president of clannishness, divisiveness. Wow. Says no sane citizen ready to die for rudderless Nigeria. And someone tagged me in this post yesterday. Cooker said Nigeria is not worth dying for. Was asking me, do I agree? I said, do you disagree? I escaped assassination attempt as EFCC chair, says Waziri. All of this on the front page of The Guardian. Bishop Cooker is quite an outspoken clergy. He says what's on his mind anytime, anywhere. The story is also on other dailies today.
Indeed. If you check the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, it's here. Buhari never promised public declaration of assets. That's the presidency responding to Reverend Father Kuka. Daily Independent has that story. Says Buhari, Nigeria's greatest burden. Kuka speaking on the front page of Daily Independent newspaper. On the front page of The Nation, Nigeria rudderless under Buhari, says Kuka. It comes with a rider. Bishop faults government on security at funeral of slain seminarian. That's on the front page of The Nation newspaper. Rotimi. There you go. Reverend Father Matthew Kuka and the presidency.
Yeah, as always with this kind of statements, you need a lot of nuance in analyzing it, because some aspects of it will be overstated, even if true. For instance, this thing about Nigeria not worth dying for. I mean, Ideally, this is not what anybody should be saying.
Right.
But I guarantee you that there are millions of young people that agree with him.
Yeah.
You know? And when millions of young people agree with somebody like that, it's not because of lack of patriotism. What they will be focusing on is the character of the leadership and whether the leadership has delivered for the youth what governments should be delivering for citizens. You know? So some people will say, oh, that's not a patriotic statement. And a lot of youth will say, what do you mean by patriotism? Is patriotism the same as believing in leadership that is incompetent and has largely failed?
Must I necessarily be patriotic when I disagree?
Yes, so all these kind of things need a lot of nuance. As to whether Buhari publicly
declare his assets.
Yes, said he would publicly. Please, some things are just not worth discussing.
Your favorite spokesperson.
Yes, I mean when they say this kind of thing, the best response sometimes is the title of one Femi Kuti song, Shotan.
Shotan.
Yeah, Google is your friend. Please, just go and check whether Buhari promised to publicly declare his asset. Some things are not worth getting into argument with people over when it is in the public domain.
And even whether you promised it or not, if it necessitates, development, and it just clears the air over many things.
Quite frankly, no battle against corruption can be fought with integrity.
Right.
If the president and those around the president
don't lead,
and the governors and those around the governors cannot come out and say, this is what I had before I took office, and this is what I now have after my first term, this is what I have after I've completed the second term. If members of the executive in particular, and I'm not saying that the legislature or the judiciary or civil servants are exempt, but if presidents and governors in particular cannot so lead,
right,
people will not take the battle against corruption seriously at all.
Indeed. Let's quickly move on to our next story on the show this morning. We'll take this one from Daily Independent newspaper. This happened yesterday, the second of its kind. PDP takes protests to UN. EU urges them to intervene. That's on the front page of Daily Independent newspaper. It's also on the front page of the Nation newspaper. PDP protest again at foreign missions. That's the Nation for you this morning.
It's also on the Guardian newspaper. PDP protest petitions UN, EU, France over alleged dictatorship in Nigeria. Wow. That's a big one. Let's see. It's also here on the Daily Sun. In Imo, PDP protests at UN, EU, French embassies. You can't stop us from demonstrating. Party tells Uzodinma right here on the Daily Sun. Let me see a bit of that story. What are they asking for? Now, worried about what is called increasing abuse of democratic principles and institutions in Nigeria, the PDP yesterday in Abuja embarked on peaceful protests. The offices of the UN, that's United Nations, European Union, and the French Embassy, supported by leaders of the party in the National Assembly. The PDP National Secretary, Senator Ibrahim Tsari, who led the protests, asked the trio to intervene in what he termed murder of democracy and miscarriage of justice in the country. There was a petition they wrote asking the international community to prevail on the federal government to, I quote, preserve democratic institutions and ensure that votes of the people count at all times.
When they were delivering their protest letter at one of the missions, a PDP spokesperson for that particular protest said that they mentioned the pillars of any society and said that the two pillars that are left right now in Nigeria are the international community, Nigeria, and the media. How true is this?
No, the PDP is not. I don't believe that the PDP is on the right track here. The international community sometimes has its own idea of what democracy should look like in your country. And it is not always the same as what citizens wish for. Because the international community is made up of different countries.
Right.
Different countries have different foreign policy. Sometimes it's based on ideology, sometimes it's based on self-interest. So if what is good for your country in democratic terms,
right,
and delivery to the citizens is not good for them, they may turn around and say what you are doing is not okay. There is always a lot of nuance involved. I mean, let me just give an obvious example. If Donald Trump says that what is being done in a certain country is not good for the citizens of that country. But the citizens of that country believe that it is good for them.
Which is a possibility.
Yes, no, but it has happened historically now.
Right.
Since the days of colonialism, a country can free itself from colonialism, and the colonial country can say that it is not good for them. So, there is a lot of nuance. The PDP has to be careful. They are walking a very tight rope here, handing all these principles to international community.
Well, the major things they've asked for is that votes should count. They also talked about insecurity, and they believe the presidency isn't doing enough.
Well,
so can we mandate international community to mandate the president to do more?
Well, you can call on international community to support certain basic global principles like human rights. I mean, human rights are universal.
Right.
So if a country if a government is violating human rights that are universal,
right,
you can call for international support. But again, this is broad canvas talk. I mean, if you call on UN, for instance, to help with certain things, it may be appropriate. But there are certain things that you can't call UN. I mean, UN are international civil servants. They are diplomats. You can't call on them to intervene in the politics of your country.
Local
so,
politics.
I mean, a lot of nuance is necessary here. But let me just quickly underline that although the Nigerian federal government and many of the state governments show very serious undemocratic tendencies, and the country cannot be said to be fully democratic because people are intimidated, people are harassed, court orders are not obeyed.
Rights are being abused.
Both by individual institutions,
right,
by executive members, and so forth like that. It is a bit overstated to say that the country is in a dictatorship. I mean, a dictatorship is serious business, it is serious business.
In a dictatorship, they won't even be able to have this protest.
Yes. So undemocratic tendency, not respecting democratic rights, choosing which law to obey, and yes, all those things are true. But to say that we are in a full-blown dictatorship, no.
Overstated. There was a bomb blast, bomb attack, in Edo State yesterday. And this is again tied to political word trading in the party. That's the APC in the state. The headline here from The Guardian: Obaseki Izeyamu, others trade blame over fresh bomb attack. How my family narrowly escaped death by APC scribe. Accuses governor of masterminding the incident. It was handwork of EPM. Government insists. I don't know what investigation they've done before making such an allegation, but it's a big one here. It's also on the Vanguard. Oshomole Obaseki fight as explosion rocks Edo. Blame Oshomole. Izeyamu EPM. That's coming from Obaseki. Oka blames governor. So they're trading blames on who threw the bomb. It's also the biggest story on the Daily Sun.
One thing is certain, it's getting nasty in Edo.
But I mean, it is not nice at all.
Elections.
Well, according to the report here, there was a bomb. It was sleeping. I mean, it was during the night when they heard the blast. He said, fortunately, there was one close to his bedroom that had failed to detonate. Right? If it had detonated, I mean, it would have been another story entirely.
So how did we get to the point where bombs are being used by politicians? Bombs. I mean, we're not talking about firecrackers. Bombs.
Bombs.
To the extent that
bombs.
Well, to the extent that what's in the paper is to be reasonably believed, it is getting nasty in those states, and this is intra-party, not inter-party.
Yeah.
The struggle for power, by all means, is not something that we should be delighted about in this country. And, there is one big cause of it, which we sort of hinted on earlier. this matter of declaration of asset and this matter of corruption, it's one of the things that can finish Nigeria.
Right.
Because once people get executive power, they have access to almost unlimited riches. With almost no accountability. I mean, this security vote matter. I mean, you can see the thing unraveling in state after state. I mean, see what we are seeing in Abia and other places like that, where, it is being revealed that former governors, their chiefs of staff, and other people, and it happens in many states, we are routinely drawing 500 million a month, 1 billion a month, 2 billion for undisclosed reasons from so-called security votes. So when you have that kind of situation in any state, the tendency is that the struggle to, get nomination, to win actual election. Yeah, the desperation is really high. We need to walk towards a scenario where public office does not guarantee you access to the cookie jar.
Right.
Like that. When you finish, you go back to where you are coming from. If you are a lawyer, you go back there. If you are a medical doctor, you go back to your practice.
You remind me of when we had one of the lawmakers here at the State Assembly talking about these, huge allocations and allowances for government officials. I remember him saying that how do we expect them, after serving the public for so long, to then go back? Many of them can't go back. So we need to give them a sustainable lifestyle.
Well, it is done in so many countries all over the world now. People go back. Look,
He said they might not get jobs.
Rubbish. if they can't get jobs, then they are incompetent.
Is that my fault?
If you look at almost all the parliamentary democracies in Europe,
right,
you are a parliamentarian, you are a minister, you are prime minister. The moment you lose work, the moment you lose your position, within 1 month, they've gone back to where they were coming from. They've gone back to law practice. They've gone back to whatever it is that they were doing before.
Do we need a law to do this, Rotimi? It's a fantastic idea.
The same people that will affect to make those laws.
But let me land on this. So if we don't need the laws, I'm sure that these people didn't just appear in their offices. They didn't just voila, they are there in National Assembly.
Sheriff,
there's a process. The electioneering process.
What we need.
Why can't we, as a people, as electorate, choose exactly the kind of people that we want?
Okay. Choosing the kind of people we want is going to involve a lot of public education and awareness to the level when a potentially crooked person presents him or herself, you can see the person immediately.
You can just see
and say, "Thank you, ma. Thank you, sir. Please step aside."
But Nigerians insist that the elections are never about them, that they don't even make those choices.
The laws we need are the laws that make it unattractive for this kind of do or die politics to happen. And
how do we get the people that will make those laws in there?
And that includes, for instance, public declaration of assets. For feature of assets that you could not reasonably have earned as a public officer. You can't become a public officer and after 4 years you have helicopter, private jet, 20 mansions.
You have a whole state.
And things you didn't have before you became a public officer. Look, there's one of my friends who told me one story in the US. So he was lecturing in a US university. And after Al Gore, Clinton's former vice president, lost the bid to become president, he said he had just started teaching there. And then one day he saw a lot of young people rushing towards the amphitheater. And he was wondering what is happening. And they said, it's Al Gore's lecture. And he said, Al Gore is teaching here. And he said, yeah. Right. And they said, yes, he's teaching here. Former vice president.
But here it looks like once you get up there, it's like going back down.
Students were rushing
to get into his lecture.
To the lecture.
Right.
Well, let me read some comments from Facebook. Igwe Victor says, Presidency, Buhari never promised the declaration of assets. Then what was the actual reason the Nigerian people changed the best government in 2015, according to him? Says, thank God my instincts never failed me. I told people that for once, these folks were never good for anything government. They were coming for something else. Imagine where we are security-wise. Nigeria is still joking. Adewale Temitokwe says on insecurity, Nigeria is suffering from systematic problems coupled with leadership failure. Nigerians need to wake up before it's too late. Dr. Mrs. Ma Olebara from Owerri on Facebook also says, what else do we expect from this government? If you're still hoping, all now wash. A government that cannot live up to its responsibility. It goes on to say everyone should now arm himself. No, don't arm yourself illegally. It says, and be vigilant and fight back. Don't fight back like that. MEMA says, according to Buhari and his people, in 2015, the money he used to purchase presidential form was contributed by organizations. Also in his second term, he was still broke. And people collected the form for him, which he kept winning. And he was still collecting salary and allowances worth more than Trump's income. Buhari has been in government over 30 years, receiving salaries and allowances. Yes, he has been broke. Raphael Adegoke, on the explosion in Edo State, says Anin Ekiti. So I heard over the weekend, this is getting out of hand. Bombs being thrown in states is least expected. Let's keep it there for now.
All right. Let's look at our next story this morning. It's on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Ekiti OK's 6-month maternity leave. That's on the front page of the Nation. So Ekiti State Governor Quadry Fayemi has approved 6 months. That's about 180 days maternity leave for female workers in the state's public service. This is in line with the administration's determination to key into global best practices that will improve the quality of lives of the citizens. The new policy, which takes effect from February 1, is aimed at improving maternal health and encouraging nursing mothers to observe the 6-month exclusive breastfeeding campaign of the United Nations Intervention Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF.
Well, let me congratulate Quadry Fayemi on that very, very important step for women. This is something he has always believed in. For people who don't know, Kayode is one of those governors that went from civil society to politics, and a lot of people were wondering how long will it take him, like all other people, to forget everything that he advocated for.
Clearly, blending.
Yes, clearly he has not forgotten everything. Some people would say he has made some compromises like many politicians do, but certainly on this matter he has not
this
forgotten.
Is something to applaud.
This is something that he believes in, and it is also important to mention in these days of politics of First Lady that his wife Bisi Fayemi, if you know her, you will see her hand in this.
Obvious. It's written all over it.
Bisi is a feminist of long standing.
Totally.
And has championed many causes for women. And you can see a lot of things happening in Ekiti. Along this line, not just the 6 months maternity leave.
Should other governors follow suit?
Of course.
They should.
But also, for instance, in Ekiti now, if a schoolgirl is made pregnant, by somebody, the view is if the girl should stop school and the perpetrator in quotes is a boy, then they stop school together. And if there is no reason why the boy shouldn't stop school, then there is no reason why the girl should not continue with her education. So, there are lots of innovative things going on in Ekiti.
And it's really something to applaud.
And it's significant because he's also the chair of the Governors Forum.
So we hope this rubs off on the other governors.
Definitely, this is something he should champion with his colleagues.
Please pitch in on this particular headline from the front page of Daily Trust. I think it's an investigative report. Federal Character Commission grounded, operates with only one commissioner. Speaks volume about federal character.
Well, the whole discussion about federal character is one of those things that needs a lot of nuance because a lot of people believe that it's been thoroughly abused. The matter of federal character quota system has really been reduced to nepotism. So, in other words, there are many positions or applications for instance, for university places, police, army, customs, where it is widely believed that if the quota from your state is in quotes full, regardless of how qualified you are, people from another state that are massively underqualified are more likely to get that position, even if it is to the detriment of the rest of the country, which is not the way it should be, because such principles should operate at least on the basis that at a minimum you have to be qualified for the position.
Right.
So to see that the commission is in fact comatose,
I tell you,
it's not a surprise.
No, not at all. Let me tell you some other stories you might want to check out this morning as we leave. This is a very touchy story on the Guardian on the Metro page. 12-year-old orphan commits suicide in Imo. A 12-year-old. That's a very sad story. Senate threatens to sack evasive MDA's head. Rejects defense by proxy. Meaning you have to come physically to answer for yourself going forward. You can
we
read
say
out.
that we are looking forward to the Valentine's Day Amotekun romance.
We talked about it yesterday.
Which has
the love gifts from the governors to the.
So as we've been discussing here, it looks as if the law will be passed
synchronized.
simultaneously.
We talked about it yesterday. Said Rotimi predicted, and here we go.
Right.
Friday is the date, and we'll be following.
Let me quickly take this comment before we go on YouTube. Onyeji on YouTube says, we know that it's not mandatory to declare one's asset, but PNB told Nigerians that he will declare his assets publicly. His handlers coming now to deny this is rather unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. When we come back from this break, we're talking about torture in Nigeria by security officials across the nation. There's a report done by the BBC. We'll be speaking with one of the correspondents, Maya Jones, who's currently in the UK. She'll tell us about that report. We'll also be taking you to Port Harcourt to bring you one of those who were tortured by the police there. One of them died. 4 others were tortured, and the case is still currently being handled by human rights organizations. Join us after this break for this and more. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
I'm Sheriff Quadry. Rotimi, thank you for joining. We're back in a moment.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.